Well, the PQ are continuing to grab seats from the CAQ. Last night in Chicoutimi, the party won another by-election, the fourth in a row, increasing their seat count in the National Assembly to 7 now, just 8 months ahead of a general election. Here to discuss the win is political analyst Raphael Melancon. So, Raphael, a strong win for the PQ, not by a little, but a lot. With the closest rivals, not the CAQ, but the Conservatives. What do you think? What must the CAQ be thinking today?
Well, certainly no good news for the CQ because, it was quite expected to see a victory of the Parti Québécois yesterday. But the big question mark to everybody, to every political observer, was who is going to take the second place behind the PQ? And clearly here, the second place went without a doubt to the Conservatives of Éric Duhaime, with 26%, leaving the CQ way behind at only 12%, just a little under 12% actually. It's a blow certainly for the CQ. That's with no leader, with a lame duck leader like François Legault right now. They couldn't really hope to win Chicoutimi. Then, by the way, that's a riding that they won just 3 years and a half ago, with the biggest majority they've got across the province, 62% in 2022, and now they're down at 12%. So those 50 points they lost yesterday went, yes, essentially to the PQ with 45%, but also part of it, there's two factions, within the CQ. There's the nationalist voters, and then there's the more fiscal and social conservatives, which went to Éric Duhaime's Conservative Party. That's why they finished with 26%. So it seems like the Quebec Conservatives, yes, the PQ still has momentum, but the Quebec Conservatives are also picking some momentum in some regions of the province. And right now, what it tells me is that we might see in the next general election a vote that could be split between not 3 parties, but 4 parties. And if that happens, then anything goes. Anything can really happen because you will have very tight races in some regions of the province.
Yeah, and PSPP last night said we've had now 4 wins in 4 very different ridings. The wind is in our sails. So you could say, okay, maybe the CAQ is dead in the water now, but PSPP himself raised something very interesting today about possibly postponing a referendum. So that's interesting because that kind of takes away his Achilles heel from the Federalist parties, right?
Yes, well, as we know, the appetite for sovereignty across the province is not very strong at the moment. If you look just last week, the Angus Reid poll that showed that only 27% of Quebecers would vote yes in an eventual referendum. And out of this 27%, only 15% are 100% convinced they would be voting for yes. So the rest of it is shabby. The rest of it is not entirely convinced they would be voting yes. So support for sovereignty at the moment is at the lowest. And it's very bad news for a PQ with Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, who's committed, who's promising a third referendum on sovereignty in the first mandate of a PQ government. So it's certainly a burden to them because right now it's pulling them down. Whereas 28% of PQ voters, even those who would vote for the PQ, do not want to see a referendum on sovereignty. So this is people that could eventually be tempted to vote for a CQ led either by Christine Fréchette or Bernard Drinville, or even for a more nationalist liberal party led by Charles Milliard now. So there's certainly a strategy here from Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon to tone it down a notch, to tell Quebecers, listen, yes, I understand you are worried about the situation with what's happening, the threats coming from the US. We don't want to add a layer of uncertainty on top of the current economic uncertainty we are facing as a province. And by doing this, he's announcing he would be delaying basically a referendum until Donald Trump is no longer in office in the White House.
Yeah, as you said, with new leaders potentially heading the CAQ soon and the Liberals, and now all the tectonic plates are shifting and we have 8 months to go. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens from here on. And thanks so much, Raphael, for weighing in on this today.
A lot of things still can change in politics, as we know, so we will be there to analyze it. See you next time, Caroline.